thank you.
There you go, $50, please, from each of you.
No, I'll give you some beer and I don't know.
Done.
I'll rub your knee or something.
Higher.
No, just your knee. You could jerk off while I do it.
Hey, everybody, welcome back again to the Hype Attack Podcast. I'm Isaac. With me, Doug, Jermaine, Rudy. We're going to skip over the hype stuff because we want to get right into Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver.
Deuce.
We did cover Part 1 in episode in the past, and we're going to cover Part 2 because, we're drunk.
We do.
We're inebriated, and we're going to get fucking right into it, which is kind of sounds similar to what I said for X-Men 97. There's a trend. So... boys, cheers.
Cheers.
Just to let you know about the podcast.
Oh, and if you're listening to this, because I forgot to mention the last time, don't just listen, watch. We are full video episodes now. So, tell people about it. Don't keep us your dirty little secret, please. Continue.
So, okay, before we jump into this real quick, where did we land on part 1? We were a little divided on that one, weren't we?
Yeah, I remember, Doug, you said that you actually liked it.
Yeah, I like everything, but I thought it was fun. I thought it was good. I understand the complaints, but ultimately, I think it's worth a watch, and I would probably watch it again at some point if there wasn't a deluge of constant new media. I would watch it again. Yeah. If this was like 2005, and I had a DVD collection, and this was part of it, I'd watch it.
Yeah.
Continue.
Here we go.
Are we
Running.
even recording that?
Running fucking
Red light on,
This right
confirm.
now?
Jesus.
Fuck off. I've been recording for the
what are
last
we in?
11 minutes.
Nice.
Year 1 of recording again? Oh my god. No.
It's because the screen is behind me.
You just wanted to bring it back. That's true. My bad.
We can set up a system of mirrors. Someday I'll be able to set up a system of mirrors and it'll work.
So generally, we liked it. I think that my thing was like I wanted to see part 2 to see how it tied in with part 1 to see how much I like him as a whole.
Because
Exactly.
to nutshell, I mean, and Anthony Hopkins sort of recaps it beautifully, but it was such like a setup, get the band together sort of thing. I personally was expecting like, okay, and then the full fight, which I mean, there was a fight-ish, and where there was like that excitement of Noble dying, or they thought he was dead. This movie picks up and then just like, I mean, it picks up right where they left off, but then it's like, but he's not dead. Like, okay.
Dun dun dun. Yeah, so I didn't mind the first one, but my only gripe was that, like you said, it was, they kind of started and they got right into it, and you didn't get too much of a feel for the characters.
It's a lot of characters.
Yeah, so as they were rounding everybody up, like, it would have just been cool to get like a little bit of a Sangrein, to like everybody's like backstory, which we got in the second part.
Yeah.
But I just wish that part necessarily was in the first.
Totally. Yeah. And because we'll get more into it later, but this movie did still feel like it was trying to have the audience connect with the characters. And there's one scene, which we'll break it down again once we get more into it, but where it's like, it seemed very heavy-handed, like, all right, let's connect, and just this little kind of convenient delivery system of getting to know you sort of thing.
I almost feel like the first one was more designed to give us the world and like look how big this world is, look how many things there are in it, and then the second one was a little bit more like, now let's look at the characters.
Yeah.
That's a good point, because they don't venture out anywhere else after, or in this particular movie.
Yeah, so I'm not saying that that's necessarily a good thing or the way that movies should be made, but I think that's how it is. And at the end of the day, like, these two movies should probably be watched back to back, and hopefully the rated R director's cut version, like the one big cut, is an easier watch. Hopefully,
That's a good point. That's
I'm
a great
so
point.
bummed that they didn't give us that right away, because now I got to go back and
Yeah.
like, that's time, bro, that I got to sit there and put in. Even though I
That's true, yeah.
do still want to watch it, but man, just give us his vision first, and then you could do whatever you want to do with it.
And I think I even said that in when we covered part 1, which was, I mean, that's really not how movies are supposed to go. It's supposed to be like, here's the thing and present it to you. And the fact that you have to, I think we might even brought up like Kill Bill as far, comparing how you cut stuff up. Like this felt like, split right down the middle sort of thing.
And is it just me or is Zack Snyder the only director whose shit just has to get edited and then he releases like his version later?
There's been a few memes about like just make a good movie to begin with.
Wow.
Because there's talk about like another director's cut for Sucker Punch at this point.
Oh, funny.
Like he's putting it out as like he'd like to do his like real director's cut. It's like you already had a director's cut, and the director's cut was 10 times better than the theatrical cut. So and I love his version of Sucker Punch. So it's like if he's got another version, like all right, let's see it. But part of me is like, or just put out a good movie.
But I also, by the way, I also feel like Sucker Punch didn't get as much love as it really deserved.
Yeah, because no one fucking understood it, especially if you watch the theatrical cut and not the director's cut.
That's a good point. And I don't really have like fun facts as far as this. I didn't dig into the background and that sort of thing, but I'm just curious. Like, do we blame the editor? Does the editor hold some responsibility, some weight on their shoulders? If it was like, I remember Quentin Tarantino had his editor, and for the life of me, I can't remember her name. She had passed away, but if he had a really good editor, it was like, no, I got all of your stuff, and I'm gonna then give the world, whilst respecting your vision, and then give the world what it needs.
There's a part of me that I know I come off as maybe bitter or cynical towards today's nerd media, but I do.
Doug Free Space,
and I might have brought up this in the first episode. I don't remember at this point because it was months ago, but. You look back at that first Star Wars and like we didn't know much about Leia. We didn't know much about Han, especially and Chewie. We didn't know their backstories. We got basically like, hey, he's a smuggler. The Millennium Falcon was supposedly famous, though Luke hadn't heard about it. Like, and I'm not saying that was done poorly. Like, that was done really, really well. I mean, maybe a masterclass in how to like give us a character with no backstory. But I do feel like in today's times, in this nerd culture, like, can we accept that much? Like, I think I asked the question again. I'll ask it again. If Star Wars came out today, could we accept Han Solo as he was presented without going like, well, who's this guy? What's his story? Like how does he fit in?
We would have to do like some sort of social experiment where somebody didn't know about Star Wars. And then was like, and then I'll present you the first movie. And also somebody who like generally liked movies too.
Yeah. Now, at the end of the day, Harrison Ford is charming and he did a great job of making us care for him. And he had a full arc. I guess that would ultimately be my answer is that the first Star Wars movie had a full arc for all those characters of, Luke coming from essentially nothing backwoods and saving the day. Han Solo being this mercenary that was in it just for the money and a princess. And then literally coming back after he left, coming back to save the day at the end. Like if it wasn't for him, all of it would have failed. And Leia, I think, showed how much of a badass she was. Like they had a full arc, which maybe that's what this movie was missing because it was designed to be split into two.
Speaking of like missing, you're kind of right. Like I don't think there was really like a charming Han Solo-esque. I mean, because this is supposed to be Star Wars, a version of Star Wars, whatever.
Do you think that was supposed to be in the first one? Charlie Hunn's.
Yeah, it would have been him. It would have been him, and then he was an asshole.
Yeah, he was an asshole.
Yeah.
Fuck.
That was probably the most emotional response I got out of the first one was him turning.
The twist.
Because it for fucking sure isn't Gunner. I fucking hate Gunner.
No, yeah.
I was going through it again. I was like, oh, I rewatched it last night again, just taking notes, and I was like, yeah, I really fucking hate this guy. God, he fucks shit up all the time.
There were some interesting characters that I would have loved to have seen fleshed out, and maybe the comic books fleshed them out a little bit more or something like that. But
yeah,
to go back to your earlier point though about like if Star Wars released now with people like it, do you think just because we've gotten so many shared universes and so much stories built upon stories upon stories upon stories that people just aren't willing to give a fresh story with no background a chance?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I do feel because of the culture that we're in now, when you look at Jesus.
My microphones are new to him, guys. But just pardon that.
I'm not used to stuff in my face like that. Unlike Isaac. No, I'm kidding. Bazinga.
Like a pro. Look at that. Always keeping it where it needs to go.
So when you look at everything that we've gotten from, let's say, from Star Wars to now, when you look at comic books, when you kind of look at like graphic novels, you know, even novels itself, video games, we're so used to the nerd culture, you know, whatever you want to say, that characters have an origin story. You know, there's a point, you know, there's a point that you tell the story. This is how the person got their abilities or powers or whatever, and then you're moving forward. You know, something happened, so maybe that's the culture nowadays. We're just so used to it, and when you look back at all the superhero movies, every time they did like a new superhero movie, they always got to tell that origin story again, even though we've gotten it. So I've always asked the question of, if you didn't have all those prior X-Men movies, would the movie Logan have affected you guys emotionally sweating as it did, you know?
That's a damn good question.
Because when you watch the movie,
Great question.
you have all the history, you know, there. But without that history, would that movie had that same impact?
As a comic book fan, as a superhero fan, yes, because it's rare. We haven't gotten too many, even comic books that explore the retired or the old man version of a superhero. Like Kingdom Come kind of touched on older Superman, older Batman. Dark Knight Returns touched on an older Batman. So I think, you know, if Logan were to just be dropped, for me as a superhero fan, I would have still felt like pretty like emotionally like hell yeah towards it. But to your, well, no, I'll let you guys answer that question as well.
Well, because as far as Logan is concerned, even like how a movie is constructed, it was still kind of its own little, like, for the most part, like its own universe. Just like the story beats, and you know, get introduced to new characters and have that emotional connection.
Professor X's deterioration would have required a little bit more backstory, I think, if there wasn't the previous X-Men, just to get that attachment to
But
him.
I do want to ask you guys, because my brain doesn't work as it doesn't hold as much like information, or like your guys' memory is so much better. But to your guys' combined knowledge, is there a movie that pops out that is, for the most part, like standalone, as in there weren't prior TV shows, or it was, you know, the first in its trilogy or whatever, or even just like its own thing alone that was kind of like with Rebel Moon, like, okay, let me try to get into it, because I the thing that comes to mind is Altered Carbon, but it's a series, so it's a little bit different because you have time to explore all of it. But does anything pop out to you guys?
Yeah, I mean, like Altered Carbon's a great example. There was that movie Jupiter's Legacy, which again, or is that the one I'm thinking about?
Jupiter Rising.
Jupiter Rising, yeah. That was like a good sci-fi thing that, again, it was based off a book or something. So obviously there was some niche nerds that would have known about it, but it didn't do well. I mean, the one I'm curious about now, going back to Star Wars, would be The Acolyte coming out. Because The Acolyte's set in the High Republic, which is an era that, unless you read the books, very few people know about. It's still set in Star Wars, but we are going to get a lot of characters that don't have any sort of. I hope. Hold on. I hope they don't have any connection. I hope we don't hear a fucking Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I hope we don't hear a Kenobi. I hope we don't hear a Palpatine or a Skywalker. Like
Something fresh.
Technically, Yoda's around, so we might get a Yoda drop at some point.
We'll get an Oda.
But as far as
but
a
even
movie,
that though, I feel like Disney is already kind of giving us on social media those character backstories a little bit.
Yeah.
Because again, we live in this world where like I can't Google this character. There's not a wiki. Oh fuck.
it's a great point.
I got two. Jermaine, you want to go before I go?
Oh, no,
Oh,
go
cool.
ahead.
The Matrix. The first Matrix movie was a complete
Yes.
standalone thing.
Absolutely.
That was well told, developed
Nice.
its universe, and
great.
just
30 years
hit.
ago. Fuck yeah.
Ew.
Just hit.
I know.
just hit.
30 years.
And
Brother,
also
Where's your sticker?
sci-fi, The Fifth Element.
Okay.
Yeah, great example.
As fun of a popcorn movie as that was, it was still like I walk out of there going, fuck, what about this backstory and this backstory? Like, it was, they gave you everything and it was put together very well, and I was entertained the whole time, even though it was like, campy, Space Odyssey, but it was
Fifth
still,
Element's a great example. That's a good one.
it was still really good.
to add to Rudy, which the Matrix is always on my list, but I will probably have to say that Christian Bale movie, Equilibrium, because I didn't know nothing about that movie. Went in and I was shocked, pleased,
It's on my list.
and I think Doug finally watched that.
Did you end up watching it?
I might have.
Oh, okay.
Probably.
No, it's on. I want to do a YHST episode.
We'll
with
do
you.
for
I'll have to
rewatch
look
that
it
one.
up.
That one, I will say, was a big shocker because if anybody's ever read the Fahrenheit 451 novel, when I saw that trailer, just because I did a book report about it when I was in high school, like just them burning shit in that trailer, like they showed a little snippet. I was like, is this? I was like, no, this is something different. But going in there, I was really surprised. And for one of my guilty pleasure movies, Reign of Fire.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
hell
a
yeah.
great. There you go.
Reign of
That's
Fire
a great pull. That's a fantastic pull.
And that
as
was
well.
when Bale and Matthew McConaughey were like, I don't want to
No.
call him B.
No, Bale was smaller. McConaughey was. There wasn't a reconnaissance, but he might have been doing the what?
That would have hit Doug right in the stage.
You ever heard that?
No,
Oh
awesome, bro.
yeah, the reconnaissance, dude.
But that was the time period for me though. That was
We
that
might
movie.
we might have talked about it earlier hype episodes, but I did watch it a few months ago, whatever, and I was like, I haven't seen this in quite a few years, and it fucking holds up.
Yeah.
Visual effects, story, acting, it holds up.
Oh yeah.
Everything before Potter.
He can't see you doing this.
I know.
Oh, sorry. Go
No,
for it.
no. I was gonna say all this just kind of confirms though that lately nothing really pops into your head with an original story carrying a new idea as opposed to shit we remember from the past where people were more willing to accept.
Well, I feel like every, to your point, like every level of this genre, ever since probably really Potter, like Harry Potter introduced studios to the idea of like, we can make 7 movies off of one IP.
Yeah.
And if you remember, there was certainly that Potter chase, right? There, Divergent, Hunger Games, Aragon,
Maze Runner.
like
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
like
Young adult,
YA
yeah.
books that everyone wanted. And then at another level within the genre was certainly the Star Wars chase and I mean, like a few of the other big trilogies and stuff like that. And I guess that's probably it, because the movies prior to those is when I think studios were focused on like, let's just make a good movie
Yeah. I mean, well,
versus let's make a 10-year franchise.
well, like Marvel itself it declared or whatever made it declare, we're not going to make a bunch of movies this year, but they're just going to like do like 1 or 2 a year to focus on actual quality over quantity.
Yeah.
So all of that being said,
I believe.
prior to
I
that,
see it.
one more thing though. I was actually talking to my friend this week about Star Wars, because I mean we're talking about Rebel Moon, but Star Wars is obviously a heavy influence because this was supposed to be a Star Wars.
Yes,
Yeah, it
huge.
was supposed to be a Star Wars story. I was saying like it'd be kind of interesting to watch some sci-fi that was pre-Star Wars, because Star Wars certainly just influenced everything after it came out. The 80s alone was just like again, this idea of studios rushing or chasing a dream is nothing new, because they did it after Star Wars.
have you seen? I think it's with Robert Duvall, THX 790 or something.
Oh, Lucas's first movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't watched that yet.
Sorry, was it?
11:38.
Yeah, 11:30. Well, we were talking about
it's like
Sean Connery was in a sci-fi movie like pre-Star Wars, which
holy
Jesus
Yeah.
What is that?
That's where Princess Leia got her.
Zardos or something like
I was
that.
about to say, is that Buckaroo Banzai?
No,
Zardos.
Zardos.
Is that the drug you have to take to watch it?
Yeah.
Fuck.
But again, I'd be kind of interested to watch what sci-fi. I mean, pre-Star Wars was Star Trek, also. When, let's give credit. But post Star Wars, I think sci-fi was certainly just influenced by just what Star Wars gave us, because it was revolutionary. And it's awesome when you do find a rare sci-fi that doesn't seem influenced by it.
And I think, not to make this one like a Star Wars centered podcast, but the detail that Lucas put into it. I mean, I've seen even like just the visual effects and like how everything was built and how it was shot. That revolutionized how movies were made, and as far as like revolutionizing movies and story. But so taking all of that, when you look at Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver, and Part 1, like you see those influences, and not saying like this movie was supposed to, blow up sci-fi and take it into a new direction and stuff like that. There were so many things about these movies that I enjoyed. I think you've even covered it, like, the world building and all of that. My bigger issue is the actual handling and construction and execution of the story and the characters. You had really interesting characters. You had a solid enough storyline, and I can't really say exactly what it was, but it just didn't hit in that way that we're talking about all of these aforementioned movies where we're like, oh yeah, The Matrix and Jesus Christ, I don't get that from this movie. After watching it, I go, okay, that was cool. Now, I don't know if it was because we were spoiled by anything else. I don't know. I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but it just didn't hit in that way, which sucks, because as far as how the movie looked, it looked fucking amazing.
Yeah, you're right. It looked amazing, and I appreciated that they explored the idea that a giant imperium is going to need grain, and how, it's something that many franchises don't touch on. Mm-hmm. But I think you're right, and I think what I'm getting at is just a different story choice. Like they in the first one, they went through all this effort to like go around, travel to all these different planets and gather all these cool characters. Mm-hmm. And then ultimately we're just back at the grain planet defending this little village. Mm-hmm. So it was like we got this like taste of this larger galaxy, larger universe. And then it brought it back to just defending some small village that didn't even look like a sci-fi village. I'm not saying that's necessarily a bad thing. And again, I could see how that seems like a good choice. I could see how a storyteller like Zack Snyder would be like, okay, yeah, let's do that. Like let's just defend this small village against this like larger empire. But maybe the better story choice would have been to have them keep going on that adventure. That's Star Trek. Like more of a Lord of the Rings style, like take the fight to the bad guys. I think that's a better story that I think maybe the audience would have attached to.
Which one of like the last few lines is kind of seems what they're gonna go, where they're baiting like what the
where they're going next. Yeah.
Which that seems, I'm like, I'll watch that movie.
Oh yeah. This movie ended with me absolutely excited for what's next, because I think that's where they're going.
So what you're saying is that these first two movies were the longest post-credit scene ever.
Yeah, or the longest like prequel, like
the longest,
like this is
the longest episodes of TV series.
Just run the pre-credits over these.
Yeah, this was just
2
a Star
hours.
Wars.
It's
Like,
the crawl. It's the crawl.
Yeah.
exactly.
I mean, fuck. You want to get into it then?
I think this movie kind of suffered from its own hype too. Like everyone was like, "Oh, it's supposed to be the next Star Wars," and like that's a really lofty goal to hit. Mm-hmm. And then you get this serviceable but not spectacular two-parter, and it's like, well, that wasn't Star Wars, and ooh, shiny. Like
yeah.
It kind of didn't. It kind of, like I said, like you said, it didn't stick in the mind, and like just like, oh, I'm gonna watch that again and again until the next one comes out.
I still wish that Disney let him do it as a Star Wars movie, though, because that was the plan. And I think it would have been a great, like, early Rebellion or early Empire story of just, maybe some surviving Jedi helping to defend some last bastion on the outer rim against the Empire.
Yeah.
I think it would have fit. I think it would have worked really well. We wouldn't have needed so much exploration into the story because we would have known it. And there could have been that bigger focus on the characters. And I think it would have been a cool moment in Star Wars history. But instead, we got like this new intro to like a new sci-fi space that just is kind of there.
Because I'm not shitting on Snyder for going in this direction, for doing what he did, because of like what you said, which was, you know, if he would have been allowed to do a Star Wars story, you don't have to bother with the backstory. It's already set up. It's already done. Focus on the characters. Where's the I just said that camera. But so I kind of feel bad for Snyder in a way where it's like, bro, you decided to make this movie as like a you know, allegedly as like a fuck you, right? Like I could do this.
Yeah, but we're still getting the director's cut. So
My point being is like, man, what a difficult task to try to, you know, obviously it's Star Wars influenced. And so you try to change some things so it's not, you know, so obviously Star Wars. What a difficult task of then trying to create an original enough storyline in this you're creating this big universe, and you're also focusing on the, you got any? Focusing on the small aspects of the world. Like that is super complicated to do.
Yeah.
Maybe there was someone else that could have handled it a little better. I don't know if it was just a writing issue, whatever. I've always said that Snyder makes amazing looking films.
Yeah, visually that shit was stunning.
I feel like, I mean, if maybe Disney wasn't making modern Star Wars stuff and we were still sitting with the original and the prequels and then the cartoons, and this came out, I think maybe it would have been like, ooh, that's kind of like Star Wars. I like that. But because we live in this world where Star Wars exists, and obviously Warhammer 40,000, I think, was a big, heavy influence on this. I don't know if Snyder even knows that it was. I mean, I've never heard Snyder mention 40K, but I think a lot of the Imperium in Rebel Moon resembles the 40K Imperium more than Star Wars Imperium.
Well, friend and listener of the show, Mosier, what's up, dude? It said exactly that when part 1 came out. Like he's like, dude, I was watching a few minutes in, and it was like Warhammer 40K heavy influence.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that.
Yeah, which maybe people that didn't know that might have enjoyed the movie more. But for me, it just like, I liked the world, but it felt like Star Wars light and 40K light. Like, and like, I think, I mean, one of our first episodes of our podcast, we talked about what it is to be a nerd. And I think I brought up the idea that like what makes something nerd is like wanting to be a part of that story, a part of that universe, part of that world. And like Rebel Moon, I don't know if there's anything I want to be like. I don't know if I want to be a part of any of that.
So you're not gonna be like Little Mermaid on that rock and singing your
Jesus Christ, that was in my head too. I'm like, I'm gonna drop that little thing right here.
But you know, because it's like when you see Star Wars, it's like, oh, I want to be a Jedi, or I want to be in the Empire, I want to be a Sith, I want to be a bounty hunter, or you know, Star Trek, same thing. I want to be in the Federation, I want to be Starfleet, I want to be Klingon or something. And like Rebel Moon, like despite introducing us to all these cool things, I mean, like I guess the Rebel fighters, the edit in me saying the name
Blood Axe.
Blood Axis. The Blood Axis. Like, all right, cool. I could be a part of a Blood Axis. I mean, like, there's some things there. Yeah. The cool swords, which are, you know, lightsaber lights again. Like, I can see it. Like, it's there, but I think it's trying to be something in a world of like, those things already exist and better and more fan base.
So
yeah, good.
It did. Do you guys remember Star Wars Visions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you remember the episode with the
Samurai?
Yeah, like the vagabond
Yes.
Sith.
The Ronin.
Yeah. So it had like a feel of that type of movie where I know he said it was, you know, we've mentioned it before, the Star Wars influence, but it looked like it was supposed to be like a Sith who kind of left and kind of went off and did their own thing after whatever happened, to the Empire, whatever, and they were sought out, being looked for, and then they were just happened to living their life, in this village, and then war breaks out. But it's just one of those things, like we've all mentioned, you want to be a part of this universe and all that stuff, but there wasn't much for you to kind of grasp to say, oh, that's cool, that character, these characters look good. But when they were telling their backstories, I was like, man, I wish we were there. Like, they're like, especially, what's the main character's name again?
Cora.
Like, her telling her story and how she got here, I was like, damn, I wish we would have got that, like, in the first.
Even with the backstories, though, I didn't feel any of the characters are really that inspiring. Like, to be able to be like, oh, I want to be like that character.
It elevated them a little more when we got that round table.
I absolutely needed that, but but I still didn't be like, oh, that's my boy. Oh, that's my girl. Like,
You know what that shit reminded me of? The Table Talk.
What?
That fucking 70s show.
Oh, shit. the spinning camera.
Because they were just sitting there, yeah. And I was
Titus just flipping it around.
and I was a general.
Nick Patty passes the flask. Passes the flask.
That shit got me.
Do you think that that's a byproduct of modern movies and modern storytelling wants a more well-rounded character, which means flaws and bonuses or positives, and those flaws sometimes, like especially these characters, like they were all kind of flawed, makes it kind of hard to really get behind them. Versus old school characters, it's like this guy's just a fucking badass. Like when a character is just a badass, like old school characters. They were just kind of cool in a way, and it made it really easy to be like, I want to be that guy. He's awesome.
What's how you deliver them?
Yeah,
Like we were talking about. Sorry, that's how we were talking about. Like how there wasn't like a Han Solo type of character in there. There really wasn't any character to bring like that type of level of levity. So because everything was just super fucking serious.
But do you guys feel it's the characters? Which I will say this. You know how majority of the time there's one character that's, the down and out character, that it's, drinking, like the general, he was just a gladiator in an arena, but he had a past.
You're totally a Titus.
And do you think it's more so because when you have other stories with multiple characters, let's say like a Harry Potter, let's say like an Avatar: The Last Airbender, let's say like an X-Men, Matrix, even, of course, Star Wars. You always have that character that's always down and out. But then you have other characters that people can grab onto, to say, oh, that character, is the hero. This is the woman, she's fiery. You have that Han Solo character. But when you look at the story, when we talk about there was nothing for us to grab to, do you think it's because all the characters were like the same? Because
really
everybody was kind of down and out, and there was nobody there to be like
the idealist,
take the charge. Like you didn't have like a Red Ranger, you didn't have a Green Ranger. Everybody was just
everyone was the Yellow Ranger.
Great fucking point. Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? So
they all follow the same beat. There wasn't like that type of diversity in the character.
Yeah, there was no diversity within the character. Everybody was just glum and just
very realistic.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is like this movie's focus was to make everything as like grounded, hard air quotes, as possible. I mean, to the point where I really, really enjoyed the tech in this movie and how it was like designed and created and how it works in the world.
Yeah.
And whether they utilize that same groundingness through like their stories and the characters to be like, well, people would really be like this. I'm like, I don't fucking care. It's got to be what looks cool in movies and what feels good. If everyone's the same, because people in society, it's like, it's not going to fucking work. Good job for trying something new. It's just not going to work.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, I could see as a storyteller why you might sit there and say, like, you know what? Let's create this world where, like, yeah, this is a group of all people that have been fucked over by the Empire, and there's not that Red Ranger that's going to give the big speech at the end. Like, basically, the speech was like, yeah, we've all been fucked over. Let's fuck over the guys that fucked us over.
Yeah, they just hated the Imperium enough to be like, yeah, let's band together.
Yeah. Like I said, I think I could understand how that could be a story choice, and maybe a more talented storyteller could have done that. How dare you? I know. I felt dirty. I felt dirty saying it.
So
Yeah.
So this movie starts with them thinking they off the admiral and they go back to celebrate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Super
but we
Village.
as the audience already knew
Yeah.
he survived, right?
I-
Because
that
there was a
was-
post credits or
I
something.
was going to ask that too. That we got that part where he's talking to the new emperor, king, whatever guy in the astral plane.
Yeah.
right. That was the end of
Cassius.
that was the end of the first movie, right?
Yeah, and I
Yeah,
think they
yeah,
even
yeah.
showed him with like the tubes and the Bantan tube
So yeah,
tank or something.
So they go back to the village and their plant there tells them like nope, they're coming back and you got like 5 days and so
Yeah, so you don't get to enjoy any of that. Like, we won.
and then the ensuing chaos of preparing for that attack and then the attack itself and how all that shit revolves is pretty much like the entire scope of the second movie. Like that.
well, 30 minutes of them was cutting grain.
Yeah.
I did time it, by the way.
slow
I
motion.
did fucking time it.
Fuck up. You
I
not time
swear
it.
to God, I timed it because
would.
I
was a
had
long time.
such a fucking issue with it. I even wrote down that it was 5 minutes and it felt like forever.
It was again beautifully shot.
It was. Yeah. It
I
was
don't know if
fucking
they're-
gorgeously
I mean,
shot.
if I can give out a Grammy or Oscar, not a Grammy. If I can give out an Oscar for like the best grain cutting shot in the history of movies, Rebel Moon Part 2.
Harvest
Zack Snyder.
montage brought to you by Anheuser-Busch.
We
I did get
just see
that
the
vibe.
Yeah.
Someone,
I
was it
did.
you
I,
that said
I
that?
was
Yeah.
like, Jesus
Did you get
Christ.
that vibe?
It's going to be like, "Psh, Budweiser.
Yeah, the space
know.
Clydesdales run by.
Yes. Why not? They should have
see him
fucking
galloping
done that. They
across the
should have
sky.
leaned into it. But no, like that whole harvesting scene, it was about a total of like 5 minutes. It just they cut in Noble and dealing with Cassian and devising their plan and shit like that. So because it was broken up, it felt like even fucking longer. Of like just get fucking get
Yeah,
to it.
and it was weird as the audience members because like you were saying like we knew that there was no celebration here. Mm-hmm. Like we knew who was coming. Like they knew at that point that the Empire was coming back.
Douglas, speaking of celebration, who was coming? We got a sex scene in this one.
Yeah, it
know?
wasn't slow mo and fun, but we did.
No,
get
it wasn't.
Yeah.
But they, and I have in my notes, they
Yeah, there it is.
they fucked.
Yeah, they fucked.
Yeah.
And apparently Gunnar likes some like macabre, morbid pillow talk. Because then Cora starts to confess all her fucking sins. And he's like, hey, just touch it. Just touch it a little bit. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
What the fuck is happening right now?
But back to
Sorry.
I
to
was
derail
gonna
you.
say I think the harvest montage would have worked maybe if like we all, us included in the audience, kind of really thought that they had a victory, which it wouldn't have worked because obviously there has to be some villain in the second movie. But it felt so long knowing as
Somehow.
the audience like
Palpatine
somehow
returned.
Palpatine return, yeah. Exactly.
They didn't leave any. They didn't leave any somehow.
Yeah.
But they didn't know that I know that. They knew that I knew that he was still alive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The fucking scene though was certainly like one of the first moments where it was like, the rated R version. I bet this might go more.
Oh, I
Well,
want
it's gonna
That-
be like
that and a
300.
lot
It's
of-
gonna be like 300.
Yeah.
Slow motion and lasers.
yeah. That
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
that was a solid sex
A lot of the killing, a lot of the
Lena
fight
Headey?
scenes too.
Right, Lena Headey?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
A lot of the fight scenes I could tell
Those are pretty
also where it
heady
was just like, the rated R is gonna have like we're gonna see that
We better?
that stab. We're
Yeah.
gonna see that head
Yeah.
fall off or whatever. But
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
there was certainly a few of those moments.
The meat of this movie, pun intended, is the character interactions between the villagers and the protectors that are coming back. Did we get enough of that?
Yeah,
They only had like 3 or 4 days to prepare and train. And
3
all that
days.
Stuff.
They had 3 days, even though they were going to be returning in 5 days, and they tried to shoehorn in some of that.
They taught about 3 of them how to shoot.
in the montage, yeah. And apparently the villagers had like really some fucking anger issues because they were good at it with their like sickles and shit like that. But like they attempted to connect some of the villagers with our heroes, like with, for instance, with Nemesis. Apparently, the little blonde boy, little Dennis the Menace, was like into her. and
Yeah.
stuff.
So Nemesis and the kid, we have that relationship develop. Who else?
Cute blonde and
yeah.
And the soldier, right?
Dudester.
What's his name? What's his name? Aris.
I'm really bad with names.
He was cute. Aris, and then whatever her fucking name was. They had a thing going on. Because he saved her. He killed his whole squad to save her. Fucking perv.
Those two might have been the only two like really personal ones, but I do feel like they did a good job showing that like the village was pretty happy to have these people here.
Wasn't there something with like Furiosa? She was into one of the villagers or something like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean,
Furiosa.
come on. She was like, Jesus Christ, that was heavy.
Yeah.
Furiosa. Shaved head, the fucking mascara across the face.
Anybody that puts black makeup across their face is Furiosa now.
Jesus Christ.
Bingo.
Wasn't it Furiosa and the creature prince guy kind of like during the battle? They were kind of like, you know, they were fighting together, and it seemed like there was a vibe there.
No, she bats for the other team.
Oh, okay. Well,
Did you see the haircut and the mascara eyes?
Jesus Christ. I don't know why-
Stereotyping.
You cut this out.
I don't know why I'm taking you seriously right now.
No, but no. She does bat for the other team. I forget with whom she was interested in.
The Gonster has made me fucking uncommonly serious. I don't know. What
I
it
know
is.
that's interesting from you.
We will
My
have
goodness.
no joking. I got enough Guinness and Monster for another.
Oh, you might as well pour another one, man, because I'm gonna fucking throttle this motherfucker in a second. if I don't even out.
My Happy Good Times is brought to you by the hardest seltzer from Brewery X, Blackberry Mojito. Sponsor us.
The big question:
Yeah.
do we buy that they were ready in fucking 3 days to take on a dreadnought?
Because they needed, what did they say? How long did they say that they needed? A few cycles.
Well,
Like,
well, to my point, when I joked about that they train like 3 people to fight, I think they actually did a good job of showing them they didn't train a lot of them to fight. Like even the women and children went up to the one grain house or something like
The
that,
longhouse.
and they kind of implied like, oh, like they're all going to get ready to fight. No, those women and children weren't fighting at all. There was like 3 of them, or like one of them had a gun, and then there was Nemesis there to protect them.
It was the blonde chick that had the gun.
Yeah, and so which I was kind of happy to see because again, it to your point, I don't think they had enough time at all, and I think we kind of subtly got that with what they gave us. It's like, oh no, like they weren't ready.
I do feel they were hoping because they knew they were going to be ready for this, you know, force that was coming for them. It was more so they had a lot of things prepped, and it was more so one of those battles where we're going to try to bait you to try to do things I can't even say that word. Unorthodox. Just them coming there, landing, and them having, you know, certain like booby traps and things set up when they were prepping. You know, it's just
Home field advantage.
Yeah, it's just them hoping that they would, you know, we want you to come at us. We don't want to have to come to you, because if we have to rush out there and come to you,
I'm fucked.
you're gonna get gunned down.
Yeah.
Murked.
But because of who you are, and you think that we're ants and you're just gonna come squash us, you know what I'm saying? You know,
Yeah,
so it's one of those things
underestimating them.
Yeah. So that aspect of that type of battle, I was like, you know, I'll accept this for what it is.
It was totally a holding action too, because they weren't. You could get the sense that they didn't think they could win, and it was all about sending Korra up to the ship to try to blow it up from the inside.
Yeah.
Because they had that her old ship on standby, and as soon as everything popped off, she was supposed to get to it. And then
It's a great plan, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought that was like that was the thing that was going to win it.
Yeah.
The problems that I had was, I don't know how many guns they had on the ground, but they were just like, it was the Imperium lasers against bladed weapons, you know, and I wrote down a couple times of like plot armor, heavy fucking plot armor. There was so many slow-mo scenes where, you know, the stormtroopers or whatever are just completely missing, and
We're
I'm
not
like,
even shooting. When everyone popped out of their little spider holes, like they did it very like slow mo and like dramatically, and
Yep.
I was just like, that's
Looked cool.
That's enough time to shoot someone.
I mean, you had Noble
I'm
going.
moving in slow
I
motion.
mean, that's enough time to.
Got him.
That's enough time to be like, whoa, what the fuck is that?
It took Admiral Noble, him jumping down like fucking Superman into the bunker, complete with superhero landing, to just like, just like that's how I was feeling. I'm like, dude, I wish I was in like your guys' shoes to do exactly what you're doing. Like, pew 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 from the hip, like, oh, you think you're gonna blow that ship up? Kapow! Come on, get the fuck out of here.
I would argue though that it's possible that these Imperium troopers hadn't fought, especially like rebel fighters, guerrilla fighters at this point. Like, you never know. I mean, same with like going back to Star Wars. Like even those stormtroopers at a certain point, like probably haven't fought like in a while, right? Like they've gone through training, they've done through everything. Like they implied that there was a little bit of resistance going on. Obviously, the blood axis. Thank you. But who knows how much of the normal everyday trooper actually gets to see action? So
True.
they could all be a bunch of like rookies in there and like thinking that they're just going to squash these villagers, and all of a sudden they are popping up out of spider holes. It's like, whoa, we didn't train for that.
From what you got from part 1 is that they were cocky.
Oh yeah,
Eager as
absolutely.
shit, though. I mean, hell, the private Aris or whatever just killed his whole squad for the one girl. I'm like, bro, you're such a virgin.
Well, yeah, he didn't do that shit on his own though. Cora came in and did work on most of that squad. He kind of
And the
he
robot,
stood
right?
up to her
Yeah.
for the girl, but they knocked his ass out pretty quick, and then that's when Cora shows up and
That's right. They were bullying him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I stand corrected.
I will say that robot. What, Jimmy? Right, he had a name, right? Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Definitely a new contender in the whole like Star Wars droids versus Cylons versus T-100s, and then fucking Jimmy would work them all.
So
What do you
his
guys
little
have like
anchor.
a favorite battle moment that was in the series?
The end battle, the final end battle.
on the ship or on the ground?
On the ground, Jimmy. Me and James go back. I call him Jimmy. Jumping into the tank, and then dumping the grenades, and then just bouncing out like Superman, full on with the cape. The other second moment is where was it? I forget who, but somebody blows up one of the ships. They go onto the ship as it's already landed.
I've made a mistake.
And like the Imperium pilot goes, "Oh dear," or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
I haven't.
Yeah.
But continue.
Yeah, I might throw up there.
Oh, that bad, huh?
I think I fucked up.
I use the cup.
Fill it back up and drink it
I
again.
think I filled the cup.
Who fucking took out the ship? Now I can't remember.
I'm trying to look it up. I had it.
Because I remember someone like
I'm not organized.
reaches up and throws wasn't it a bandolier of grenades in there?
Probably the robot.
Yeah,
He did that for the tank though, right?
I just had the ship was
Was
bombed.
it old boy who fell after and just hit the ground like sunk?
No, he was dead.
No, he was one after Noble.
He was splat
Yeah,
dead.
yeah.
And Noble worked his ass.
Oh man,
Noble.
that's not even my favorite moment. That was just like my most laughable moment. I'm like, dude, you're up against this like souped up dude who's shredded as fuck. Like talking about cum gutters.
Well,
This
yeah,
guy is
and
just
he's a little augmented.
Yeah, I
the
bet he
hilt.
is. And this fucking, Huckleberry farmer boy who fucking thinks he's gonna take him on and gets his ass handed to him in more ways than one. And just gets thrown out. Like, I'm totally done with you. I'm gonna let the ground fucking take care of you. That's how
In
beneath
fairness,
me.
Noble-
Literally you are.
Noble had that look of like, I can fucking take this scrawny shit.
Absolutely, rightfully so. There was just
Yeah.
no competition. I think it was just a run of the mill farmer that like chucked a bomb or a satchel, somebody's a bandolier of the grenades into the thing, and then the guy goes, "Oh damn it!" That's like the only fucking levity you had in the whole movie.
But yeah, the Jimmy part where he walks out all majestic and shit, and he's like, "I'll handle this." Did anyone else think he was gonna get taken out heroically?
Yeah.
Like he was just gonna like self-destruct in the middle of all that and like clear a swath. I was pleasantly surprised that wow, I'm seeing colors right now. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you meant in the movie.
I was pleasantly surprised that he actually like he started taking hits, and I'm like, oh shit, here it is. Like,
He's bulletproof, right?
The heroic sacrifice.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't look like it. Like he was taking chunks out when he was getting them hit, but like he jumped into the tank and then fucked everyone up, blew the tank up, and like jumped out. I'm like, oh okay, Jimmy for real.
Yeah, it definitely had that vibe of the sacrifice, but also at the same, I was kind of expecting, but I was really hoping it wasn't, because we got so little of his little story. All of a sudden, he's wearing antlers, and he's like, he discovered himself on that planet. He came, and the turn to red.
Yeah,
like, oh, game on.
I was fully prepared to be pissed if he died.
Yeah,
right there. I'm like, that's it. That's all we get.
Yeah.
Just stalking and observing everyone as they're doing their thing, and I'm just so curious, like, why didn't you jump in
when he
earlier?
came out, though, I was like, fucking about time.
Yeah.
Well, but I
What-
mean,
what
they
took you so
explained
long,
like
bro?
his programming was like protect the princess, but
Correct.
princess was dead, so his programming was fucked. He had nothing.
And didn't he calculate to say he's like the probability
Oh,
of
yeah.
your victory is
He's the second person to be like, hey, you guys are fucked.
unlikely? But I feel like as he was watching the war from afar, he was like, oh shit, these motherfuckers got a chance, So let me join in here and get
I
some
feel like
credit.
he's more
Even at that, it was more like, oh, they getting down. I mean,
Yeah.
I got anything else planned today. So fuck it, let's go.
Right?
Because he shows up when Korra's hiding the drop ship in the waterfall,
Right.
and he pops up at that moment, which is, I mean, that's like you
Continue.
said, fuck off. It's like it's after, so but like I'm just confirming, reiterating what you're saying.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, they're doing their thing.
I was kind of half expecting him to show up with like 4 or 5 of his buddies that he had kind of broadcast, hey, shit's going down on this planet,
Oh, that
we
would've
might
been
have
fucking
a
dope.
purpose, a re-energizing of our program, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
Yeah.
But like, come join, let's get down. Like he come out the smoke and there's like 7 of his buddies and they just start tearing ass. Like I thought that would have been like a realistic path to victory
Yeah,
for.
one of them was like clearly modified to just be like a vacuum or something like that. Like they've all had their like modifications.
One has lipstick and eyelashes. And
Yeah,
goes, don't
absolutely.
fucking ask.
It's like the strippers from the Creator. That's what I like to see. Fucking Jimmy Force 5 right there.
Jimmy, because he's a leader. And
I don't know
five
why.
points.
I don't know why I
Looking for five.
expected it or was hoping for it, but I kind of thought I'm like, they touch on this whole race of robots that are were made to serve the royal family. I'm like, why would we just get the one? Like, wouldn't he be like linked up in the network to the rest
I think
of
they
them?
touched on most of them been like deactivated or went
Something like
AWOL
that.
or something like that. Yeah.
Speaking
Speaking of the princess, though, like Magic Powers princess, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That they didn't really touch on too much. The Force,
I think in the first one.
yeah, magic.
Well, they just called her special.
Yeah, she was
Yeah.
like, I forgive you. And then they're like,
Not like
"She's
Isaac
not."
special. I mean, like really special to the
Just
universe.
a little bit special.
But yeah, we get we get
Sorry,
the
so
whole
mean.
the whole Shakespeare thing in the flashback where she's telling him where she kills the
Oh my god, yes.
she kills the
Okay,
princess.
let's focus on that fucking scene. Right, that's her. That's her post coital pillow talk. The fucking orchestra playing during the whole thing. What the hell? I didn't have an issue.
You were bugged by it. It was like 3 days of like text and everything. Middle of the night, Isaac was calling
even
me.
But
emailed
it's
to
like
some of
the
you guys.
Titanic,
Yeah. I got a
it's like
hard
the
letter
Titanic.
with a licked stamp and
Yeah, the
everything.
Titanic going down, and then the band is still playing,
These
bro.
fucking guys. Okay, this fucking band is not only like bagged and blindfolded, but they're playing, knowing like they were hired by the council or whatever it is. The council knowing like, oh, we're gonna fucking kill the royal family. It'd be nice if we had some tunes. But let's have a really cool band that can like really set the mood, when shit gets intense. You're like, oh my god, and then holding, and then until the final fucking death scene. Like, you guys are really good, but kind of assholes.
Well, I mean, I think
What the fuck?
I'm assuming the royal family was used to some sort of musical I mean, if I was a royal family, I would absolutely
Yeah.
want like at least a string quartet like playing every time I went somewhere. Like if I was going to Jack in the Box to get tacos.
Oh, everybody would know my soundtrack.
String quartet in first.
Tacos?
Set the mood.
No, if you're going for tacos, it's brass section.
Wait.
Oh yeah.
Do we remember? Do we remember the movie I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker?
Not at all.
Okay, so it's a spoof movie on, I don't know what it was, but in the story, like the hero is walking around and he has musical accompaniment following him around. And one of the characters goes, "Who's that?" "Oh, it's my theme music. Every good hero should have some." And he just walks by and like, you know, they're playing his music as he walks out. That's what I got from that scene. You know, it's a royal family and that's the theme music.
Yeah.
Every good royal family should have one.
Yeah. I mean, I could see that.
It's gangster. I think I wrote it down. So it's gangster.
And then, but I mean, like, oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, okay.
I was gonna say like the musicians, they probably were just aware like, oh, we're here to play the royal theme. It's like, oh, shit's going down, and then they like little freeform jazz.
Yeah, it was really impressive because
Yeah.
like they're only hearing what's going on,
Yeah, 'cause they're
which makes it
back-
that much
yeah.
more impressive.
But
I think somebody.
What if they're just used to just hearing shit? They're like, oh no, we just gotta keep playing. We just gotta keep playing no matter what.
Yeah, the Imperium seemed like that kind of place.
Additional question: do you think that like Cassius or whomever had it, you know, in his bedroom playing some fucking
it
Space
scored.
Barry White tunes?
Get it scored. He's like, "We're doing an assassination. Hold on. Someone get the music. Arrange that shit."
Do you remember
I
Spartacus?
fucking hope so.
Yes.
So that series Spartacus made me say, man, I want to be that rich one day. Because it's when the what was his name again? The dude who owned
Spartacus.
No. I'm Spartacus.
No, I'm Spartacus.
The guy who owned the house or
The
whatever you
school,
want.
Badiatus.
Yeah. So remember
Yada yada yada
when
yada yada.
him and his wife were getting ready to have sex.
What?
They had
the royal fluffers.
the royal fluffers
Fluffers?
get them ready for sex, and I was like, damn, they got it like that. Fuck.
It was
Proceed with thrusting my hips.
it was the scenes where like they're getting bathed and they have the servants bathing them and all that shit, and all of a sudden like
Hell yeah.
because they're cutting from one person to the other.
And they're just having a conversation.
A little
Yeah.
he and a little.
No, full on. Like they're talking. They go to the wife, and then they flash back to the husband, and he has one of the servants bent over, and he's like, "Yeah,
Absolutely.
And then on Tuesday, we shall go to the market.
As it
Like
should
he's
be.
just
You just need to get it done. You
he's
know.
just working it, and then back to
Royal
her, and
concubine.
like, yeah.
And like
That's
Lucy
awesome.
Lawless
Yeah, I
was
wanna
just
be that
getting
rich.
worked out,
be
and I'm
rich.
like, oh my god,
Yeah.
it's like that.
Anyway, before this train derailed.
No, already
Yeah,
derailed.
no,
But then
new
it goes
topic
wrong
next week.
But then it goes wrong.
Fictional
when you,
sex scene.
Wait.
But then it goes wrong when you turn into P Diddy.
No doubt.
Wow,
here we-
topical.
Thank you very much.
Will people remember this when this episode comes out 6 weeks from now? I don't know.
This is going to be a doubleheader this week. I'm dropping for everyone out there. This is going to be
I've only had
along with
one
the part
drink.
1 version is just dropping this week.
Hell yeah, brother.
Anyway, back on track.
Double heat. Take that.
Back on track. The
Peter Parker.
orchestra, the players were wearing the same masks that in the general with Titus. In his flashback, his men were hooded similarly before they were blown to dust. So do we think these were just like
Recycled hoodies.
prisoner orchestra? Like these are just kind of like nameless, faceless.
So that's what I was thinking too. That they were probably somebody, some version of his people from his crew that they just took and
conquered people.
yeah, we're just gonna use them like this.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, that's a really good point. Like it was like the idea of like the prisoner mass. They're just people like who don't give a shit what's going on.
I obviously focus on the stupid stuff. I fucking died laughing when they flash back to Titus's youth, and to show that he's young, he has the high top fade. I'm like, did you need that, dude?
So
Don't you know it happened in the 80s.
So anyway, to continue the
Rocking a
scene.
cool fucking high top fade.
I'm trying to give it straight. So
The
to
fuck?
continue
He's
the
like,
scene,
hey man. Continue. Sorry.
the royal family enters, and it's fucking the king is Carrie always, who I love, and I wish we had gotten a lot
Princess
more of
Bride.
him in this movie. Like just
Yeah.
his presence alone, I was like, oh, that's cool. And then like to hear him, he actually had speaking parts as opposed
Yeah.
to the first one where he just holding up his scepter or whatever it was.
He does a good British accent.
The Senate comes and like everyone starts stabbing everyone and like here's one for me, here's one for me.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, okay, this is very
Caesar.
Shakespeare, Caesar,
Yeah.
et tu Brute. And then Cora domes the prince. Did she dome her? Or did she hit her in
No,
the
she hits her
chest?
in the chest.
Okay.
Yeah.
As the princess says, you know, I forgive you, and she says don't,
Yeah.
and then she shoots her, and then there's this big explosion of light,
Murderer!
and then you get that very like surreal, like, oh, we're totally gonna blame this on her. Like, what did you do?
What have
Dude,
you done? I was
Her
like,
her
you
space daddy, what's his name?
Belisarius?
Is his name Bell? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he is so fucking dramatic.
Yeah.
Like, he could have just been like, murderer. He's like, murderer. You're like, relax, man. Everyone's around you. Like, fuck, we're in talking distance, bro. Blowing my eardrums out.
But it's like we're all in on the joke, man. Like you don't have to. You don't have to sound.
Except-
Who are you acting for?
Dramatic.
The band members with their
Oh,
mask
yeah.
on. Yeah. So, because they
it was
knew
for
that
their
they would go
benefit.
back. They would go back to everybody else and
Disseminated.
For-
Fucking
Yeah.
space daddies.
For a split second, that scene when he was like, "What have you done?" You know, or whatever. My mind went to what we do in the shadows. I was like, "Is this fucking Laszlo right now?" Like,
Father!
Yeah.
the dramatics. I was just like, "Yes,
In New York City.
let's get it."
I mean, I knew what they were going for with this scene, like conceptually. Like I knew they had to explain what was happening, but in my head the whole time I was like, Zack Snyder is the only one that could get away with this fucking this 5-piece orchestra, like actually like playing the death scene of the royal family, and I'm like, I'm okay with it. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like it's silly, but it was done so well and so artistically. I'm like,
LME.
all right, cool.
Allow me. It worked.
Yeah.
absolutely.
It worked.
It worked, but the rest of the world was Jesse Pinkman.
I'm telling you right now, though, I'd be fucked if someone like tried a scheme like that on me, because it'd be like, as soon as they'd be like, "Why'd you kill her?" It's like, I didn't kill him. You guys killed him. I'd like die at that point because I wouldn't run. Be like, no,
trying to argue it.
everyone's gonna understand this. Everyone's gonna understand this. They're lying.
An awful
I'd like pull off the mask of the violinist. Be like, no, look, they did it. Like,
I saw nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that. Other than
Where do we
just
go from
introduce
here?
That, just to introduce
know.
that scene.
I saw
Let's
you.
go to the last battle when they were on the shit.
Okay,
Yeah.
so everyone's fucking
Hunt
dying.
for Red October.
The villagers are finding their delaying action to let Cora try to board the ship and destroy it in orbit, so that
Great coup, by the way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So-
we touched on that. That was a great plan.
So they're in the ship,
Well,
and
I'm
it's
touching
her
on it
and,
again.
and it's her and Gunner, and her plan is to blow the engines, and then get off the ship, and then chaos ensues. Go.
That computer thing, the engine room brain computer thing.
It was so freaky.
What the fuck? That was unnecessary.
No,
And-
no, I
and
think
No,
has
it was
me-
necessary.
Was it? I have so many
'Cause
questions.
it's so weird.
So many questions about everything else. Why do the men have penis? The men have vaginas and the women have penis. Oh, we didn't cover that.
So
right?
to paint the picture for those that haven't seen it, when we first get into the engine room, like at first glance, it just looks like some glowy tubes going to a thing, and then we realize it's like a head, like a statuesque head,
Yeah.
with a bunch of glowy tubes. But then you also get the like just below that is old school, muscly hot dudes shoveling coal. So as I think I said when we were
Forehead
watching it, like
approves.
my first reaction was that it had to have been stolen tech.
Oh, great point. Oh,
Which-
yeah, you did. You talked about, I think, in part one of like, what if all of their fucking tech is just all stolen tech?
Yeah, because this empire is certainly very
Needy.
nationalist, xenophobic, xenocentric. They're going for the old school like racist, fascist empire. But I feel like, and I hope it's true because it would add like a certain spice to their story. Would be the idea that they're also just stealing a lot of tech,
Yeah.
and pretending that it's their own, or maybe not letting people know that it's stolen or that it even exists.
What's your theory though then on what that fucking giant head thing is?
Considering that they showed them traveling through space pussies, it's got to be something along those lines.
That was absolutely a space pussy. Don't you fucking laugh.
Space Tussie.
Straight,
I forgot
straight
about
face.
that.
Yeah, we didn't see it in the
first-
second one. We didn't see it in the second
First
one.
thing
The first
we
one,
said when
yeah.
it happened, we were like,
Exactly.
space pussy.
So that was the head that gets space to spread it.
Okay, every time I see a spaceship and I see huge vaulted ceilings and like big spaces, I always go back to, and I don't know where I read it, but it was like a more realistic sci-fi story that explains that space travel is hugely expensive.
Oh yeah.
And that space is, economical. Like you have to have everything like very compact to be able to, lift the whole ship and thrust the whole ship or whatever. And so every time that always sticks in my craw a little bit when I see huge spaces on a spaceship. I'm like, what's all that wasted space? Like, you know how many closets they could have put in there? They just have this big floating head. But still, like, I was intrigued when I saw the big dome and like all the tubes going down. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
And more so,
How does it work?
Right before she's gonna hit the button to explode it, it opened its eyes.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's just weird. It's intriguing.
Yeah.
I want to know more about it, but it's super weird just in the moment. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
So many answers.
Yeah,
so many
we
questions.
did
no
get the
answers.
hint. So, didn't the robot have the essence of somebody that was put in it?
What robot? Jimmy, talking about Jimmy?
Yeah, the one with the antlers.
Oh, fucking Jimmy. Hell yeah.
Did he have essence?
Maybe. I don't know.
I could be wrong, but didn't he say that he was somebody else that was downloaded or put in,
I don't remember.
into him?
I don't
Honestly.
remember that.
So, I could be wrong, but
You're never wrong.
so
Usually.
with that said, with that engine room thing, I was like, maybe there was something inside that.
A trapped celestial that helps them pierce the veil between light
Yeah.
speed and normal speed.
Yeah,
Because
something like that.
Again, one of my questions is how the hell are you getting to light speed on coal?
Because you're not. You're fucking sliding it in that space pussy.
Well, you've seen Back to
That
the Future
old
3,
space
right? Where you
cooter.
have like that different type of firewood or coal to make it burn faster, like that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Laced.
No,
Talking
but you're
about-
right.
you talking about what is that, Mr. Fusion?
To me, that's going back to what we started this whole conversation with, was this idea that, like, I don't know, maybe it's cool that there's an unanswered question, because it allows nerds like us to sit there and say, like, oh, was it just decorative? Was it an essence in a machine? Was it literally the chopped off head of a celestial? Like, that's the cool shit that I fucking love about nerdness. There doesn't have to be an answer. We'll answer, like, we got our thing, we go with it, and then eventually we'll come out and we'll be all fucking pissed about it and go to Reddit. This is how things work.
I mean, I like Mystique, but I also like, getting even a halfway answer. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have to like go into the nitty gritty of it, but like just an aside here, we're like, ooh,
You wanted a character to stop and be like, oh no, they're entering the room where there's the head of the celestial that allows us to go into the space pussies.
that's why I said an aside as opposed to a whole fucking soliloquy on what the engine room is.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, I know not to tread in that full explanation territory with you, Doug. Motherfucker. Oh, you wanted everything explained to you, bitch?
Yeah. Let's just pause the movie and just do a Wikipedia scroll.
Do the X-ray.
I wish that they would just in the middle of
This
the
is
room,
what this is.
they would just stop and look at the
Movie's
camera
5
and just
hours
explain
long.
everything.
Engine room head.
Yeah.
Played by.
Like
That's where
Spaceballs,
AR
like,
will
did you
come
get all
through.
that? Did you get all that?
In like 10 years, we'll be going to the movie theaters and be like, hey, do you want the AR goggles to explain everything fucking to you? And you'll be watching it. It'll just pop up.
Oh man, I might like that.
I want
would do
somebody
for
just
the
go like,
subtitles, 'cause
"See
I'm
that
old."
giant head thing?" And then somebody just goes, "Yeah, this looks cool. That's why we just made it look like a head. That's it. Okay, cool." And then moving on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like, half of old school sci-fi shit was probably that.
Yeah, yeah, it
Man,
was.
this fucking looks cool. And then eventually you'd be like, well, we got to explain it. I don't know. The dilithium crystals. This is a Star Trek
Midichlorians.
reference.
All right, death scenes. 2 death scenes. I want to talk
Oh,
about.
no. We got to go to the fight scene because Isaac specifically called me out in his notes here. It says parentheses Doug. Because there was kind of an anti-gravity fight
Your eyesight's better than mine.
the bottom of the screen.
Jermaine, scroll. You have the.
Now it's in the middle.
Wait. We'll get to that. That'll be the finale because you're talking about the last fight, right?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
kind of the last fight. Yeah.
Okay, so the other death scene, Nemesis.
Yeah.
Guys
Yeah, that made me
defending-
mad. She was the coolest one.
Yeah.
You know what? That was my favorite fucking as far as the lightsaber thing. Favorite fight scene. That was super awesome, well executed. Because I always hate when like our hero is like overpowered. You know, much like they're always gonna win. And you're like, no, just kidding. Gets her fucking robot arms cut off.
But this kind of like leads into Doug's earlier point about the regular troopers not being, seasoned because they have a special forces unit that they send to take the women and children to force the conflict over quickly. And that's the one person they leave behind to defend the women and children is Nemesis. And she goes up against these spec ops troops, ultimately winning, but at the same time dying in the process.
Fatally wounded. Yeah.
Allegedly. Okay.
That was a great example of maybe that old school storytelling of just like, yeah, we don't need an explanation. We like special. I guess it's the idea that special ops forces are something that we were all kind of familiar with. So when they implied that this is a special ops and they went up against the lady that we knew was a badass, and it was a heavy fight.
Because like
we don't need more.
Our first guys on the ground in that planet in part 1, they're basically like your jarheads.
Yeah.
That's all they were. Yeah. So, but the thing that I had noted was when Nemesis finally, kicks the fucking dust. Nobody like catches her and like, oh no, and she's just thud. They're like, oh, that sucks. She's dead. And they just like leave her there crumpled on the side.
Well,
Not even
the kid was the only one close to her. Did you expect him to like, catch her whole ass as
fucking
she's going?
something. I mean, and then Sam, that's her name, the blonde chick. Sam like pops up. She's like, no, it's so sad. Come here. And then poor Nemesis, just there without an arm and just fucking bleeding out. Sucks. Fuck those villagers, man. They should have died.
I was with Doug on this one though. I was upset when she died. I'm like, hey, she was the coolest one.
She was the coolest one. She cut off her backstory was she cut off her own fucking arms in order to handle the lightsaber things, whatever they're fucking called, because it's hot to hold.
Hot sabers.
Boom, there you go.
Tight sabers.
Edit that out. I'm gonna make that choice for you. Cut that out.
Fuck off.
So this the spaceship, the final spaceship fight, right?
Rubble battle? No.
So Cora successfully detonates her bombs into the engine room, and they're escaping, and she runs into
Noble. And then I'm all amongst the ruckus. I was so happy Gunner gets shot in the fucking gut. You deserve that, you bitch, for fucking like ruining everything. Because going back a little bit, he fucked everything up again when they had the bad guys had landed, and then Cora and Noble were like having their negotiations and stuff, and basically Cora's like, okay, fine, I'll give myself up.
Yeah.
But he's like, no, but I had sex for the first time. No.
You know
jacks
damn
her
well.
gun, shoots the bell, and all shit goes to fucking hell.
You know damn well Noble wasn't gonna let that village stand. He wasn't gonna keep his word and take Cora and leave the village. Like he was
I know.
He was gonna hit him from orbit.
Somebody else.
That was
But still, Gunner doing it. What a
that
bitch.
scene was kind of like
Pissed me off.
yeah, it was hard for me because at the same time I was like, all right, Cora's doing the right thing.
Yeah.
Like sacrificing herself and like avoiding the fight altogether. But then she, of all people, should have absolutely known
True.
that wasn't going to be it. Now, granted, they still had the grain at that point, though. So maybe she was thinking, okay, give myself up. They give the grain. Like,
So I think
legally, they shouldn't do it, right? Because Noble still has to answer to Belatro.
Belisarius.
Yeah. Belisarius.
But even he
it's fucking names.
even he remarks on that when he during the fight he tells his general to open fire on the village, like just level it. And he's like, well, what about the grain? He's like, we have the Scargiver. We're going straight back to the capital. Like we don't need all this grain to continue our travels because we're going straight home.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the rebels or this village was really, I mean, from the get-go, their whole plan was like relying on Noble being dead and everyone sticking to orders.
Yep.
Right.
Their policies and shit.
Yeah. You get the grain, you go back, Dreadnought doesn't show up, or as soon as Noble's dead, like they should have gone back to right?
Yeah.
That was the policy or something like that.
If it loses their admiral, it has to return to the the mother world.
So I think there was just like this inner conflict with the Imperium, and then obviously with their plan, the fact that Noble was, personal vendetta.
But going back to it, I was just like, if like someone else who knew the Imperium, like Titus, were to be like, you know what, I'm gonna make the executive decision, Cora, and then ring the bell instead of Gunner being like space pussy, and then did what he did. I'm like, fuck you, dude. Anyone else? I just hate your fucking motivation. So anyways, fast forward, he happily gets shot. Fucking dick. He gets shot and he's like starts slowly dying, but evidently like has enough energy to like fucking save Cora from her battle with Noble, which they're having a close to anti-gravity fight. That's why I noted you.
She blew the engine, so the ship goes into a nosedive.
Yeah, sorry.
Nosedive. So everything
Also call it a no dive.
a nosedive.
Yeah.
No. So the ship is going straight to the ground.
yeah.
So everything starts kind of that floating thing when you when the thing dives, and we get the totally
Jesus Christ! Yes.
we do get a semi zero gravity fight. It was more of a rubble battle to me though. Actually, as they're going down because they're kind of bouncing off shit and
Kind of bouncing off. Jesus
Yeah,
Christ! They took some
sliding down the deck.
slams, but none of the debris fucking hit them. I just that type of shit. I'm like, I would have loved for someone to just like to get clunked in the head here and there. Just to be like, hey, not everyone's safe. But yeah, that was an intense battle. They all got fucking.
But we got to
banged up.
fight like prior to that and after that, right? Oh no, he died within that no dive.
Yeah.
Nosedive. Yeah.
fuck you guys.
But we got in the first movie we got the fight between them. Which is ultimately my complaint, because I know you guys are referencing our Kong X Godzilla.
Yet to come out.
We didn't get the real fight before that's the trick. If you want to throw in this anti-gravity, nosedive, fighting on ice, whatever the fucking thing to mix things up, you got to give the people at least a taste of actual like one-on-one.
Yeah, which they did in part one.
Yeah.
And at the last second, what is he? He has like the fucking lightsaber thing, the heat saber at her throat, and then fucking Gunner saves the day, even though his injury was like holding him back earlier. But he's like, no, again, space pussy, and like manages to muster up enough energy, saves her. She pins him between the door. I totally thought she was going to chop him in half. Would have been cool.
That's what I thought that was going.
Like,
and then all of a sudden,
the doors are weak. I need some Tesla doors up in here.
That's the rated R. That was one of those scenes that were just like,
There
the
goes
rated
our
R
sponsor.
one.
And then she
I
just
wouldn't want
fucking
that sponsor.
she did
I'll
promise
take any
him.
other sponsor.
Yeah. She did promise him though in that earlier in the middle of the movie their little exchange of like, you will leave here without your head on your shoulder. So she did fill in that promise, and she chopped his head.
well, that's one way to make sure he doesn't come back from the fucking from the ether like he did in the first movie.
Do you think he could come back then?
We don't know. Stick some glowy tubes in him and that spider web shit.
That's all you need. I know, what the fuck.
That Bane,
Like
like
chrysalis.
Batman. He was like,
Yeah, I don't need to know. It's magic shit. Magic spider webs. Fucking Christ, we don't need to know.
No, I'm
it's
just
okay.
My 12-year-old
Settle down.
12-year-old brain was like, he got bukkakied by some space
Absolutely,
spiders.
Bukake.
Cockade.
What did I just learn? That Japanese word is not what we as Westerners use it as. It's like literally like the
Smack my
act of
face. Speaking of
pouring the
bukkake.
broth over the noodles or something like that. It's absolutely
That's right,
not.
This Bukkake show is lame. It's just serve me noodles.
Next year when we're in Japan,
Yeah.
we're going to see a place. We're gonna I'm going to hold up Google Lens. Guys, Bukkake, let's go. We go in there like, let's go, and then it's just fucking ramen.
He has his poncho.
Some safety glasses. I can't get all my contacts. And it's fucking ramen. I love ramen though.
And so they crash land, and then Gunner finally fucking dies. She's like, look at all the, look what we did. He's like,
Oh, that's right. He did die. Thank
he
God.
fucking bit the goddamn dust with his eyes open and everything. Like, fuck you, Gunner. Sorry.
Such a his
Go jerk off and then come back. You're so upset. Clean those pipes.
Oh, in private?
Get a little, what is it, dopamine? Get a little dopamine going.
So you got your private room right there.
Wrap the curtains. I'll go to my jerk room.
That's what that curtain is for.
I'm going to cut a hole in that closet. just open it, just a glory hole, just dildo just sticking out of it. Oh, Jesus, this is all going. This is going to be a fucking 10-minute episode after I cut everything.
Well, Noah bought the cum pods. Fuck.
It's curtains for you.
Edited down. We talked about Rebel Moon for 22 minutes.
There you go. And they have a funeral because there's a few people that died, so they gotta like burn the
But the rebels,
the tapestries.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about the rebels after. So the main ship crashes, but there's still
rebels.
like a handful of fighters, running around in the sky. And like, well, how the fuck are we going to get out of this one?
Yeah, who called them? Like, well, they were just like there in the nick of time, but
Well, yeah, it's one of those things where like, if you'd shown up fucking 20 minutes earlier,
Jesus,
could have
yeah.
avoided a lot of this.
fuck.
Captain Marvel.
But yeah, that was absolutely one of those things where like, oh my, because the blood axes are brother and sister, and oh, my brother's dead, and I'm coming to take up his fight, and oh, I got here just in time to clean up and be a hero.
They were watching
I'll loosen the jar for
the
you.
whole time, and we're just
Because
waiting.
it's like, oh boy, and Conan.
Who's gonna win?
This fucking razor blade.
I love that movie.
Shit. It was totally like, oh fuck, clean up. Whatever planet this name is.
Yeah. So similar to my complaint about the first one was I'm still just waiting to see what the dogfighting would look like, and we got a little glimpse of it at the end.
Yeah. I think that's what they really served, was just to get a little bit of dogfighting in it.
Which is really cool.
It was.
Yeah, it looked cool, and that's the thing is this movie ended with the setup of the real movie I want to see.
Yeah.
This quest to go find the princess with like dogfighting, and they're going to get on a starship and actually go do space shit. Like, this is what I want to see.
Rebel Moon 3.
Yeah,
The
they
search for
got
more money.
they got the little crew together. Though it still bugs me, like Nemesis.
Good as places in yeah.
Nemesis would have fit into that crew better. Like, that's such a good
110%.
like character to fit in. Like, if you were forming your D&D group, you want the fucking hot heat saber
I was
assassin.
half expecting like little Dennis Menace blonde kid to be like, for Nemesis and cut his own arms off and have like
and then put her giant
disproportioned
arms on. Yeah, little
and he's
Popeye arms.
He's walking on his metal arms.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I guess Snyder didn't want to take fucking risks and chances. Fucking pussy.
Yeah.
But at the end, you get the reveal that General Titus, they had their round table where everyone kind of explained their backstories, and Cora abstained because she already spilled her backstory and why they're going to tell it again. But they revealed the general already knew who she
all
was,
along. Yeah.
and that the princess is not dead,
Yeah.
even though she took one to the chest.
The princess is in another castle.
She did look. By the
Gotta
way,
give you
she
that
did
one.
look like Peach,
Who?
the princess.
Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Sure.
I had nothing more to that.
And,
Credits.
and then we set up.
Thank you guys for watching.
So this sets up the possibility of a sequel.
I hope
in
so.
this universe where they search for the princess.
Yeah. Because like I
Just
said, that's
for-
a story I want to see.
He said he wanted to make more movies, right? Like, wasn't it
He said this is supposed to be the launch of a franchise.
Yeah, so we shall see.
I hope that the director's cut gives this film the oomph that it needed to actually stick in people's psyche, so
Yeah.
that it becomes a further thing. Because I don't think these first two by themselves.
Part 2 did way more than the first one.
I love part 2 a lot more than I love the first one.
The rated R version, or the idea of it being rated R, might be what it needs to do to separate itself from Star Wars, from the other sci-fi things out there. Because at the end of the day, I think there's always going to be an audience that wants that hard R sci-fi, right? The heavy metal stuff, anything from back in the day, even like old Warhammer and new Warhammer. New Warhammer's rated R. I'm still curious what they're going to do with Henry Cavill's stuff, but ever since Star Wars and even Star Trek and any of these old stories, Battlestar and everything, it's like Yeah, it'd be awesome if someone did the fucking hardcore rated R stuff. And I know that's not going to sell as many tickets or get as much toys and shit, but there's an audience for it. And
Deadpool.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Hashtag Netflix, listen to us, the Hypertech Podcast, make it happen. Zack Snyder, we love you.
By the way, sorry, before you
No,
make your
yeah.
point, hard R was my nickname in kindergarten.
Fuck. And I don't want to go after that. I don't go after that. Anyone have any last thoughts? I don't want to go after that. No, close it down. No, shut down.
come on, I
fucking
wanna
hit
hear
the
it.
button. No.
I want to hear it. Come on.
That was too good, Rudy.
Tell me your point.
Say I did it with a hard R. I actually forgot.
You can't say that.
I keep meaning to make that a drop. You can't say that.
Can't say that anymore.
Jermaine, what did you think of both movies as a whole? In the fall.
It was pretty solid. So I'm looking at it like it's, in a sense, like one movie, but I know it's, split into two, but
Just do it.
Sticky.
it is solid for what it is, and I am interested to see what's ahead. Especially since the princess is still alive, and therefore we get to go back into the meat of the story, into the section that I wanted the story to kind of start off in the first place.
Do you think though that they gain enough traction with these two to for Netflix to take the gamble to make another one?
I mean, it'll have to.
I think so.
We'll see after his versions come out, but for right now, I think yes, because even if it's getting, it has some positive reviews and then some negative, but it's just a thing that it's being talked about. So
I feel like the story from this point could be even more low budget, right? Like they're on a spaceship, like less scenes, less
point.
sets, and the end of the next movie obviously is going to have at least some sort of climactic battle that might cost some money, but I kind of feel like they could, I'm not saying I want that. Mm-hmm. I'm just saying that like,
To tick
I
all
think
those
it's-
boxes?
I think it's possible to tell a story with less of a budget if that's what it takes for Netflix to continue with it.
Netflix put a lot of money behind this, even their Hollywood premieres that they don't do for a lot of their movies.
Yeah.
Like they were banking on this, so
Question. Going back to the character, or kind of there being too many characters, whatever. Now that a few of our characters are dead, if they don't add any more people, do you think like, okay, now it's a smaller cast, smaller group, we can focus on them a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, this is where I almost want it to be a series more than another movie, because then we could kind of explore those. Did you just pour yourself a shot and not the rest of us? Or did you do the soap shot? Oh, you did the soap shot, you dirty fucking boy.
I didn't have any extra booze.
Because there is certainly, I guess like that's the thing with any nerd franchise, right? Is ultimately it's like a series is going to be better.
Yeah.
And so maybe I should. It goes unsaid. I shouldn't have to say it, but I feel like in this point, like there is more to explore. But if we're getting like another trilogy, then I think there'd be plenty of time to explore those things. But
Zack Snyder hasn't done a series, has he?
I don't think so.
no,
That would be interesting.
I don't think so. Yeah,
That would be interesting.
Wasn't there something to the zombie Vegas thing? Weren't they planning something?
Oh, I don't
more to
know.
that?
I mean, they did what, 2 movies?
Yeah.
they did too, but I
One
don't
of
remember if there was
Thompson.
anything else after that.
Army of Thieves, wasn't it?
Yeah, I still haven't watched either of those. I watched the first one, then I started falling asleep. You know me, I'm an old
Good.
man. Get tired after 2.
Considering they shot it like during the pandy. Pretty good.
Sum up on the whole. Did we like it? Did we hate it? Did we wish
I
it
love
was more?
sci-fi. Fucking watch it. Yes, I
It
love
was
it.
solid.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
Would you recommend it?
Yeah.
Would you recommend it to someone who isn't steeped in sci-fi?
No. Because, and if you don't have the captions on, I'm like, fuck. When you're trying to learn the new names of the planets and the bad guys and the good guys, you're just
You don't need to.
dropping all these things. For sure. But there's moments where you go like,
Desert
the
planet.
The what? And the
Hot
who and the
dude,
what.
shirtless dude. That's all that matters. If you're
And I've
not
said it
into
before.
if you're not into sci-fi and you're not a nerd, like none of that shit matters. It literally can just be a shirtless dude and hot girl, blonde girl. Watch the fucking story for what it is.
Because
you don't need to become a Wikipedia for it as you watch it.
No. And of course, but like because Zack Snyder and he makes everything look really good. It's just that there was enough like slow moments where it wasn't as emotionally deep. Where you're like, ooh, like I don't really need to know about everything. You're just like, okay, fucking get on with it. And Anheuser-Busch, fucking harvesting. Okay, let's go. Let's get to the action. Like, I think for me, even like being a sci-fi, just being a nerd, like even still, I was like waiting for it to get interesting. You know, and so like just any kind of layman would be like, okay, all right, oh, action, great. You know,
Unless you're a real American that's a farmer, then that grain harvest was just, I mean, boners all around.
farmer porn.
And on that note, farmersonly.com.
Any other thoughts?
I liked it. I wish part 1 had been cut up, chopped, and like rolled into part 2, and it was just one, slightly longer movie with the intro, the character development, and then the last fight.
Yeah. I want Snyder to get paired up with a really good writer. I am so fascinated with that. What if he got paired up with a really good
He
writer?
writes like most of his own stuff.
I know. I wish he got paired up with a really good writer. Jermaine? You
No,
look
no, I
gorgeous. I
said
don't want to
my
hear your opinion. I
piece.
just want to say you look pretty.
Oh no, I said my piece. I said it was solid.
Yeah.
So, to a non-sci-fi, person, nerd, whatever, definitely would not recommend it. Only the people who that I know that okay, you might like this sort of, but
It's not one of those universal movies that's will draw in new fans for the genre.
Sci-fi in general are probably not.
Which is fine. So continue on. Yeah.
oh no, but it's just that like, even when I was done with it. It was just one of those movies that just had me whelmed. Like it wasn't,
Yeah.
anything, that was like, oh my god, this movie was
That's
so.
exactly it. Yeah.
I was just like, okay, that was
a
cool.
movie,
That
yeah.
was cool.
What I was going to say before was go back to the PG-13 and the whole like R rating thing, right? I like when any movie or show is like, no, this isn't going to be for everyone. We're going to lean into something where there's going to be a smaller audience. If we're going to have a smaller audience, we're going to have a really fucking devoted small audience, and then maybe it grows from that or whatever. It makes it when they try to appease everyone, it waters it down.
Well, that's anything.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that every sci-fi thing needs to be rated R because there's a place for PG-13, and honestly,
Let's talk in general as far as this movie.
Yeah, I mean, this movie worked as PG. I think to my point, I guess a rebuttal to your point is like, or maybe an agreement to your point. The rated R would just be something that would separate it, that would make it stand out.
And I'm curious to see by how much. So we'll see when that comes out.
Yeah.
Any other additional thoughts before we close out?
No, I think we said all we need to say about this one.
Well, that's as good as place to end this fucking episode. 3 sheets to the wind, and I'm going to drink some more. Tell us
Monsters all around.
Jesus Christ. I'm going to put up the recipe.
Man,
for that shit.
I
Jesus
don't know what the fuck is doing to me right
I
now.
still want to try the real. I still want to try the
am
real downstairs.
Like I usually sweat in here because we don't have very good ventilation.
No.
But I am hot.
Yeah, and that's just your butthole. So tell us what you thought about this movie in the comments, in the DMs. Let us know if we missed anything or if your favorite parts were. If you're looking forward to any more additions to any more installments to this thing and the R-rated thing. Jermaine?
Oh, that was
What's up,
because you
man?
reminded me of Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
Find us on social media, on Instagram and TikTok at The Hype Attack. Like, rate, review, subscribe, all those things. Tell people about us. We want to be popular.
We've got a couple comments on YouTube from, once again, friend of the show, Mosier.
Yay.
He's in there. But yeah, if you're watching it on YouTube, jump in the comments, and I promise I'll ignore you. Like I have been everything else.
Interact with us. Jesus Christ. Separately, all together, whatever. Like we
Let's help.
like we always say, we're the conversation. Let's keep that shit going.
Keep the conversation going.
he used to say
I
that.
used to say that. I don't know when we decided not to point to me and do that, but
Well, we're bringing it back.
bringing it back. Keep the conversation going.
There you go.
Message
But do
us,
we still
DM
like
us.
Fucking love it.
Well,
I
till next
love
time.
that hold on, I love that as much as I love the ears on those fucking headphones.
I know.
I cannot stop staring at
I
them.
was editing the Planet of the Apes thing. I just kept giggling. Adorable bastard.
I put the poll on my Instagram, and the ears won. I asked everyone, I was like, should I get the ears? And I got a surprisingly. I think Jigger, our friend Jigger, was the only person that said no, and I gave him so much shit for it. There was like 14 yeses. Yeah, 15 people on my poll. That's how popular I am on the Instagram right there. Dougie Donuts.
Well, the next poll we're going to put up there is should Jermaine be shirtless for the next episode?
I put my poll on Instagram and I get a cow strike, so I'll stop doing that.
This fucking guy. Till next time. Same hype time.
Same hype channel.
Same hype channel.
Hype attack.
Woo. That's good.